to do their deeds. And right now, that is Counter Logic Gaming and Team Solo Mid here in Madison Square Garden. We are live for Champion Select #1.
What's really interesting here is when we were thinking about the picks and bans, we were thinking that the red side was going to be banning Azir and Kalista in both, like in pretty much every game, but CLG actually opens up with the Azir ban. Bjergsen obviously undefeated with it, but it's not like Pobelter is a slouch on the champion. Basically, that says to me that CLG doesn't really have huge target bans that they want to go for. They can go for the more generic stuff like Azir.
They have a different first pick priority in mind. I think that when you think of CLG and their recent trends, TSM should try and deny Smithy's champion pool. The Tanko and the Gragas have been by far his most successful champions in the jungle, but TSM haven't gone after either of those yet.
Yeah, well, as far as first picks in the TIP series, CLG was blue side 2 times. One game was Alistar, which is banned, but the very first game, it was the first pick Echo, something they're very willing to first pick here. And I wonder if we're going to see a ban. Definitely not. Ashe.
Wow, actually leaves quite a bit open. It takes away a bit of initiation from Doublelift that we saw earlier in the season on that Ashe.
Yeah, there's an interesting choice here, especially with the Alistar ban thrown in from Team Solo Mid as well. Makes Counter Logic Gaming have to choose between getting that tank jungler for Smithy in the Echo, which is the preferred one, or trying to grab the Braum up, which has been the big playmaking support. When Alistar has been banned, it's been huge for Afromu and Counter Logic Gaming as a whole to have him on a playmaker.
A lot of the Gragas, the Janna, Braum, like you said, a lot of things here. Looking for a Gnar.
As far as recently played champions from the top laners, Zion, Spartan, and Dyrus have really preferred Olaf, which is sometimes banned, Maokai, and of course Gnar. So Maokai's banned. There might be a potential pinch here from top lane champions if they want to go for the Gnar. But with Olaf still being up, there's no pinch. The real S tier of supports with Alistar and Braum is already half denied, so the Braum first pick is probably the smart choice.
And it's even more crucial for CLG because they rely on Afromu's playmaking so much to get him one of these champions that he can initiate with.
Definitely what starts off the early game for Counter Logic Gaming. And it was the slump in the middle of the season they've been able to come out of, mostly on Afro's roams, coming back into that. So we'll see if we can do some on Braum.
Yeah, the Braum is huge. I think the jungle picks are also contested. The thing about these guys is they have so much overlap within their champion pools. A question that we had, though, was whether or not Smithy was going to be willing to early pick Nidalee or if CLG was going to have to ban it. Because in TSM series, whenever Nidalee is available, they've picked it right away, whether they're blue side or red side, and those are both big-time power picks from TSM.
Yeah, Smithy's Nidalee definitely not nearly as fearsome as Santorin, so...
But we just haven't seen it as well.
He has played it once.
Back and forth, brought out a few different jungle champions. Smithy definitely falling back to the Gragas for the last 4 to 5-ish games of the second half of the split. Definitely helping. They would go with the Trist, the Janna in that comp, but now the Braum is what they have thrown into the mix. Still waiting for the pickups on their side. Seeing the Kog'Maw and the Nidalee, definitely a bit of a poke giveaway there. Maybe going to Wild Turtle, however. We'll see if Bjergsen counters with a mid-pick.
Kog'Maw has trended more towards the 80 carry pick here.
There's the Gragas and the Trist for Counter Logic Gaming.
Yeah. A little bit interesting. We thought people were going to try and deny Smithy's jungle pool in the semifinals. But Gragas actually just kind of fell through and he was instead prioritizing the Echo. Here, though, against the Nidalee and Kog'Maw early picks, they instead go for the Gragas, maybe just trying to match some of the early game pressure that Santorin's Nidalee can put out.
Yeah, the Cinder Hulk tanks of Gragas and Echo feel very similar roles, but Gragas can make a lot more moves early than Echo can.
Also, if you're going to be going up against Nidalee, you do want to have a pretty meaty front line, Braum and a bunch of tanks, so if the spear does find its way, it's not nearly as damaging.
Have a chance to stand toe-to-toe at a few of these fights without losing half of their health bars. We'll see how CLG attempts that once they get to the situation more towards mid-game. Early game, what are you seeing with the pick so far as we kind of round out CLG's side?
Doublelift on his classic Tristana that he's been heavily favoring recently. Very big on pushing down the towers early. And he's been such a big late game carry for them as well. They have him clear side waves almost instantly with Tristana late game. He gets so much of the farm because he can clear a wave on the side so quickly and then join the team. It's been such a key difference for them and him being with the rest of the team for those fights.
Really putting those moments in the past where you'd say, oh, double lift still in the side lane. Not any longer.
Whoa.
Victor Yasuo locked in.
Yes,
Zion to carry from the top lane.
He's been practicing this pick since week 1 of the LCS.
And specifically as a Gnar counter matchup. It emerged over in Asia. It was used to great success over and over again. Really like to see this isolation. So CLG definitely want the 1 versus 1 Yasuo versus Gnar.
So in the LPL playoffs, Yasuo was one of the most contested picks because of how much those teams team fight, but that was also
mostly
Yasuo
mid-laners. Yeah.
mid lane. Yasuo top lane is a special flavor here. Obviously, some people have done it around the world, but this is a high damage team comp. It also explains why they want the Gragas as well to set up the Yasuo in fights. Zion Spartan is going to be looking to go off in this game.
Right, yeah. So let's go a little bit more into why Yasuo is good against Gnar. He can win wall the boomerang, then you don't get the cooldown refresh. He can engage at will when there's mini Gnar and really take advantage of the mini Gnar form because he can travel through the minion wave.
Well, it's a good start to picks and bans.
So it's absolutely an amazing start. I was wondering, and it happened the past few weeks, of when NA would start doing this. When would they start going outside the boundary of the picks and not be gated by pressure?
Yeah, I'm so excited right now because this
Really?
Yasuo, it enables so many things. Like, we've also even seen double lift set up Yasuo on Tristana.
Yes.
Jumping in and using his ultimate.
There is so much
there are a
setup
lot
here.
of possibilities here. A lot of them are more dangerous than others, but
Yeah.
they have been used.
Really dangerous stuff for some of the setups. I do like the fact that Pobelter is on Victor, who's just still a high damage mid laner, so they're not losing out on as much wave clear to have the Yasuo and aren't completely tunneled into a team fight. But there is the potential weakness of not really having that strong of a tank line. Zion Spartan has been a really big tank in most of CLG's recent games, and TSM is known for their great team fight.
And that's why I highlight the importance of the Echo and the Gragas so much for Smithy. He can bring that team fight tank presence to the CLG lineup. I really like that you mentioned the wave clear, though, because having the Tristana and Victor for that really makes it a well-rounded comp.
Well, he can be a boss in the fights, do what he needs to. CLG looks like they've got their comp as well as Team Solo Mid. Game 1 is about to go live. Head over to Twitter and share your predictions. Tweet hashtag CLG win or hashtag TSM win to @LOL Esports. And we'll be checking in throughout the series for how you are calling it. Ladies and gentlemen, Madison Square Garden about to get on their feet here for Game 1. And we're about to be on the rift with Team Solo Mid versus Counter Logic Gaming. And we are onto the rift.
All right, so we did spend a lot of time talking about the Yasuo and CLG side because of that pick. But on TSM side, the reason why TSM picked Gnar so early is because it's good into almost all other matchups, and it's been Dyrus' best champion, very consistent with that champion. Only the recent emergence of the Olaf has been
right. And look
bigger.
at CLG. They have come into their own this split, absolutely. And Bjergsen says TSM has taken notice.
I think CLG found a really good way for their team to play. Double plays these late game, Tristana, really good AD carries, and Zion plays very split push oriented, but he has very strong laning phase, so he usually gets ahead. And Pobelter just plays very safe team fighting champions. He always goes even or ahead in farm. He plays very safe. He doesn't die, and that just works really well for CLG because they go into team fights and they just do really well. And early game, they play off top, they play off bottom, but I feel like CLG struggled to find that identity in all the other seasons, which is why they would crumble around playoffs, but now they found it, and that's why they're looking so good.
Yeah, and what Bjergsen describes is exactly what CLG has been going for in this game. One thing that I should mention about the champion select, Zion Spartan is not really a Maokai player, which is one of the more reasons that they banned that. It's the Gnar and the Olaf that have been the contested picks between Dyrus and Zion Spartan. Another reason that the Gnar was picked early.
TSM obviously expecting this pretty much exact layout from CLG. The Yasuo definitely a twist for them, but they were definitely expecting the double lift Afromu combo. So we will see how Turtle and Lustboy can deal with that one. Lane swap wards are down, and it looks like they're headed top right now. Nobody's been spotted quite yet. They're waiting at the base gate.
And I talked a little about this yesterday when we started seeing the Malphite and different picks as well. I like that they're bringing the somewhat outside-the-box picks that they've been training, but can still fall back on comfort after this. Why not test the waters? Why not see what you can do? We're going to get this one started off. CLG just under the wing of Team Solo Mid in the jungle.
Yeah, really nice move there. Lustboy is going to see this one. He's not going to be able to do it, but at least he would force a smite on the Raptor, which Xmithy may have wanted to save. Interesting that they decided to start at the Raptors as far as a double jungle route, but really I think they're just trying to preempt Santorin.
Yeah, very smart here by TSM to go for the lane swap. They don't want to have Dyrus in that counter matchup with Zion Spartan.
Yeah.
They don't want to let him be taken advantage of, so they do the very normal double jungling. Dyrus will go back to base and use his teleport out. Meanwhile, Zion and Smithy, although you mentioned the one camp they started on enemy territory, have just kept up the double jungling. The big wrinkle there is that they didn't have Zion tanking very much, just using the Yasuo as shield. So Zion will have his teleport up, and they have a slight advantage there.
Yeah, running straight to the top lane, where now they might actually prompt a 2v1 against Wild Turtle because they're sending support assistance with Aphromoo.
It's a very, very scary 2v1 because Yasuo has so much mobility and can run through the minion line with his dash. Braum, combined with him, can provide kill pressure on an AD carry lane very early on. Right now, though, Braum's still roaming. Aphromoo trying to get some wards down. Coming in behind, actually, maybe. They may be looking for an early Aphromoo gank here onto Turtle.
Yeah, Aphromoo has a great
It's got behind him already.
He's on spot.
What a slow movement in from Afro.
He's
Turtle
got a flash
finally starts to get out.
Or just dodge
Turtle's
it.
vision on the map tells him that there was nothing, and fancy feeds himself into safety.
Very, very well played from Turtle there.
Yeah.
I thought he was definitely dead. Zion actually dashing away from him back into the minion line, and then Turtle very intelligently moves away from those minions.
Walk away.
So Yasuo can't use them against him, and a great sidestep there.
And there's a certain element of
avoided.
There's a large element of trust that TSM is putting into Wild Turtle right here. So long in the regular season, he was criticized for dying out of position and was seen as a liability within the TSM team. But now they're putting him solo lane Kog'Maw, and his ability to just sidestep that, have Summoner Spell discipline as well as getting away from the gank is really critical for TSM, and it kind of shows how far he's come this split.
It definitely does. And they didn't even leave wards for him when they left him up there by himself.
Probably not wise. Honestly, you should probably leave some wards for him, but he's still outplaced.
The strength on that has been on top and bottom. We see Dyrus almost put into these situations previously in a 2v1, so he could get three-man ganked under a turret. That's not something you see anymore. TSM has been able to start preventing that, which actually hurt the top lane quite a bit.
Yeah, really good start here
in the side lanes
from TSM. Both in the pre-game planning for the lane swap and the in-game execution there with the dodge.
See double lifts, 6 games on Tristana, that 100% win rate. The team loves to get him on that, like Kobe said, pushing waves, getting himself back to the team. Right now, he's in his element.
Specifically, what CLG uses Tristana so well for there is the ability to demolish turrets so quickly, especially in the mid and late game. CLG loves to group up and just out-rotate the opponent, and even if they get 2 or 3 seconds ahead with a late game Trist, that means a turret. And also Double Lift is a very strong laner with it as well.
Yeah, and you can see the adaptation here too. Because the pressure already so early on Turtle, they've sent Lustboy back up. So it is actually going to be Double Lift pulling ahead in experience now, since he's the AD carry in a solo lane. And they're going to try and get that Tristana up so she can start knocking down the outer turrets and get the domino effect of all the outer turrets first to get that gold lead. Good sidestep.
Wow, Pole Belter with the dodges as well. They might be able to turn this around. That's the roam from Aphromoo. This is why CLG started to catapult towards the second split. Oh, not this time though. Good dodges on both sides after the engage.
Yep, both teams with the same mind. It's some nice sidestepping going on right there. Santorin chased a little bit far. As soon as his spear missed, he should have respected the counter gank a little bit more. Because he didn't, his team loses out on the summoner spells. It's just the heal from Pole Belter, but it's multi-flashes from the TSM side.
Yeah, both of these supports have been very active, both Lustboy and Aphromoo, with constant roaming here. Now they're even bringing Smithy in tow.
It was actually the first blood for CLG. That'll come up shortly, I hope.
Are able to grab it. We will get this repaired as soon as possible for you in-house on the screens. 6.5 in, first blood going over to CounterLogic Gaming in the top lane. We'll also inform you of the situation. We're good to go. We'll be back on the screen in just a second. We apologize.
Yeah, hopefully we can get a replay of that. But it is first blood over to Zion Spartan, which is the critical thing. We're back.
First blood knocked the service right out. It's just that strong. Sometimes it happens. Thank you for sticking with us for the short moment there. 7 minutes in, we'll get a replay of that, if possible, back on your screen. The kill did go over to Zion Spartan in the top lane.
And specifically, CLG focused Lustboy, which was the point of that gank. Lustboy burned the flash in the mid lane, so he is the target of this gank. Perfect cue from Aframu and the follow.
Yeah, Zion just flashing to get right in there as well, and nowhere for Lustboy to go.
Things are rolling now. CounterLogic Gaming in the beginning. Let's see if they can continue to carry this.
Now, CLG have had the better early game consistently all split long over TSM. And it has been TSM biding their time and waiting till later in the game for the crucial dragon fights, the mid-game fights to turn it back around in their favor.
TSM, more than any other team, is okay with that. Just hanging out for the entirety of the game and then coming back strong.
Yeah, as much as you can be okay with it.
Yeah. Very frequently, TSM will play a little bit overly passive instead of taking a risk which could go really bad to take a small loss. But we also have to mention that during the semifinals, CLG was falling behind early to tip quite frequently. It happened in both games 1 and 2, sometimes by as much as 4,000 gold by the 13-minute mark. Yet CLG actually displayed very strong team fighting against Team Impulse, using their tank line properly. This game, they have an incredibly high damage team fight team and a lot of initiation potential, but not the same type of front line they had in the Team Impulse game. And TSM is a much better team fighting team than Team Impulse, so it's going to be really interesting to watch.
That's a big thing that Gnar does bring, is a ranged AoE initiation where he can throw his body in and get an AoE stun down. So both teams, a lot of tools for the mid-game team fight. Right now, it actually looks like Smithy's jumped the wall into the back of Dragon, I think, on the mini-map there, so he's sneaking it.
Well, that's not very sneaky.
Well, the rest of the team, not too sneaky, but he started it out. He got it done.
Power and numbers will still get it done. Nicely able to clean this up. Not too much of a disparity through the 80 carries, as we're seeing double lift on your screen, but that mid lane, Bjergsen over Pobelter, 85 to 69 right now.
That's sneaky Scuttle Crab.
They've got jukes. This one, he sets up his spear with the stun from Smite first. Able to land it.
Can't go on tilt from Scuttle. That does not work here in the finals. So it's going to be Chalice coming in for Bjergsen, his first item. The Giant's Belt in for Dyrus in that top side. The Shiv's already finished up with that kill for Zion Spartan. Let's see if he can actually give Dyrus any trouble, as that 1v1 is now matched up towards the top side.
Yeah, very frequently you'll see an offensive item first onto a Gnar. We've seen a lot of Black Cleavers and Hex Drinkers from him. But against Yasuo here, he's really respecting Zion Spartan's damage, trying to go really tanky really early on in the game. Additionally, they have a lot of damage from Santorn's Nidalee within the team composition, so Gnar doesn't need to bring the same damage threat. It will diminish Dyrus' threat in a split push, though, so he's more trying to counter Zion Spartan's threat with a split push in this composition.
Catching Pobelter on a bit of a roam for a ward here.
This is a great amount of damage.
Uses quite a bit of damage on that mid turret. They have a ward in that situation. No, it was just TSM, right place, right time.
TSM applying a lot of pressure on that mid turret, and they almost were able to take it down. It transitions into not only the blue seal, but also deep wards here on the blue side. And no answer from CLG.
The thing is, in order for Lustboy to roam to the mid lane, he did leave Wild Turtle in the bottom lane, and the turret was cleared by double lift. So now, with Pobelter having the upgraded laser, and if he hits level 9, he can easily clear the whole wave with his Death Ray. And if CLG actually gives enough support, they could hold this one turret advantage for quite some time. It doesn't really appear like they're going to be going for it, though, since they have lost some ward pressure in their own jungle.
You can see that's you can see that's the matchup right there playing out. Extremely favorable trade for Zion.
No help for Pobelter. I think they could have held that, but instead TSM commits to it, and now it's a fight.
Whoa, pretty big tell on that teleport coming in. Dyrus in the top side's way too low to come in on this fight. He goes down to the top side actually to double lift in the fight now with the Dragon. Bjergsen's gonna get hit up. They give that towards the Pobelter. Now it's going on to Lustboy. The jump through. Oh, cannot get it to hit on the Winter's Bite, but what a fight across the map.
There's that Tristana though. Double lift left so much, takes down the turret with a tiny bit of time left alone.
Got himself a kill too.
That fight itself, though, you can see how good this Yasuo can be in team fights. They get the extended knockup from the Braum ultimate and just destroy Bjergsen. Yes, TSM did get the turret, but CLG ends up coming out way on top in that trade because they applied pressure top lane while simultaneously collapsing mid lane and winning this extended fight.
Bjergsen blowing the flash early there for the Braum Q.
And
Doesn't
all
have
Smithy
anything left
needed
here.
was to just knock him a little bit to the side. Feed's still alive here. Zion gets the Yasuo ult off that one. And Lustboy, he really just had to turn tail and run. The Scuttle Crab nearly sold them out as well.
It did, but not going to be enough. Just cost them another flash there. And the rest of TSM are able to escape with their lives.
Well, escaping a few times in the top, CLG's found a few kinks in the armor, though, and they've been able to bring in a bit of gold. That on the AD carry, the mid and the top, the two people that are going to be doing DPS for this composition. So more power to CLG here as they move into the mid lane, trying to answer with a bit of the damage that TSM just gave to them. It doesn't look like they'll have the same result, though.
Yeah. The one game that TSM lost in the semifinals of Team Liquid was when Bjergsen was on Orianna. He's been able to lane and farm very well with it, but TSM hasn't been able to set up team fights in pretty much any of their games in which Bjergsen can get off a good shockwave. This as well is a very mobile team for CLG, which makes it difficult for Bjergsen to get shockwaves off. Not to mention how mobile CLG is being on the map. It's going to be very hard for TSM to actually set up the proper team fights.
Yeah, it's also going to be hard for them to wave clear now because the blue has been taken away. And that is going to be some extra pressure for CLG. The outer turrets are very easy for CLG to take with this comp. And the last one is their focus. Everyone grouped up with Zion split pushing here. He does not have teleport, while Dyrus does have teleport.
That's a dive.
Oh, Beard goes back. They're not going to look for the turret. They cancel him out immediately. Dyrus stops the TP. He's stuck in the top. That means CLG has some time with mid lane turret, and they're getting what they want.
Yep, the dive executed too quickly there. CLG do get the kill and turret. Dyrus canceling his teleport. They're keeping up the pressure.
And Smithy has been having a very good playoffs thus far. That's another big play that he made, understanding that Bjergsen had no flash and instigating that fight with the body slam flash to just zero out Bjergsen plus get them the objective. This is actually even more than we were expecting out of CLG's early game. As far as the matchup is concerned, CLG is a little bit better than TSM in the early game, but they are crushing it in the first 14 minutes here.
Working together, making sure the roams are in their favor, catching people in transit already. They've done it to Bjergsen a few times, tried to get Wild Turtle in the top. CLG really holding on to the early part of this game. See if they can pressure that anymore. Already one dragon in their favor with 30 seconds into the next one. You were saying Nick Smithy doing very well. It seems like the team also follows him more on his engages. There's much more trust in that.
It's definitely why I keep highlighting the Echo and Gragas for him. Those are definitely his highest performing. Now, if we switch over to looking at it from TSM's side, though, they need to go into defense mode. They have to get their defensive warding, like we saw Team Liquid do yesterday so many times. Keep those sweepers up and the pink wards and try and keep Vision in your own control. Zion's just going off.
He is playing with so much confidence right now. Look at the wards in the jungle. They don't exist right now for CLG. They're all TSM's wards, and he dashed through that entire minion wave to get her ass off. To speak to your point, though, Kobe, you can already see TSM setting up the defensive wards. That's why they have so many wards in the side of the top jungle, and also defensive wards towards the Dragon Pit. The Sightstone very early on Santorin is indicative of that play style as well. So very much trying to be in a turtle mode. It just means they're going to have to be giving up probably the next 2 or 3 dragons, though.
Yeah, what they're really looking for with that setup is to try and catch CLG in an over-aggressive rotation when they're moving across the map in the jungle. TSM still have good AoE that they could combo if Dyrus and Bjergsen can combine to get that CC lockdown. Then TSM could make a comeback inside a jungle fight. But barring that, CLG keeping up the pressure and stacking the dragons here well on their way.
Yeah, and you can see the per game averages there as well. CLG averaging 5 games less in their games. Sorry, 5 minutes less in their average game time. 5 minutes fewer, however you want to say it.
It's not
talking
a game.
myself
It's not a game for CLG.
Either way, that's the style, the pace they're playing at right now. Already 2 dragons at the 16-minute mark. Pretty quick counter if they want to get up to 5 dragons, and already that pretty substantial gold lead.
Oh yeah, Zion actually going to go for that Trinity Force, maybe it looks like, with Yasuo, which has grown in popularity. Makes him a bit more durable.
And Dyrus has done a good job at getting himself kept up in CS. After that one death, he was able to stave off any more as well, so still could have some big teleports coming in for the team once that is up, but like you guys are saying, Zion Spartan full bore ahead for him, and Pole Belter 2-0 now with that needlessly large rod. He's got himself some lucidity boots. CLG's really starting to turn on. We'll see how they decide to use this. Right now, obviously, it's double lift in his own environment. That's the bot lane.
Yeah, CLG just trying to rotate, and once again, they're a couple of seconds ahead of TSM on this turret, so double lift is getting some free hits in. Max stack on his E there, takes half the turret down.
Yeah, a couple of seconds means half the turret there with Tristana. Yasuo keeping the pressure up top as well on Turtle. And now Zion does have teleport, so this could be a moment where CLG actually press a bit too far. This has been one big difference between the two teams. Even though TSM have said they want to take more risk and they want to be more aggressive, CLG are by far the more risk-loving team still. And when they have advantages like this, they continue to try and press them.
Yeah. Obviously with TSM in full stall mode right now, it's going to be absolutely on CLG to try and initiate. All flashes are up for TSM, which makes an initiation even harder, because generally TSM would be able to flash back near their Nexus turrets. So CLG now has acquired some deep wards, and they're really just pulling off a nice split push here. The danger of someone trying to stop this is if you're not together, one Grog Assault into a Yasuo means you're dead.
Trying to look at TSM's initiations as well, once they want it. Two walls that are going to pretty much stop things from happening. A lot of damage is not going to get by, and for an Orianna, having your ball stop short and not know it's going to happen immediately can mess up the entire fight.
Yeah, it's actually fairly difficult for TSM, to try and catch CLG, even if they do have a numbers advantage. It has to be a really good play from Dyrus to make it happen, and CLG are doing a good job working around the Gnar bar, giving him a lot of space when he goes Mega Gnar.
Yeah, I mean, CLG is still playing pretty aggressively here. It's a 5v4, and they're pushing TSM off their blue. Yasuo is in the top lane. Obviously, with teleport, it has to be respected, but it's a power play by CLG here. They're getting split push pressure on these side lanes, and they have been consistently chipping away on these turrets. Oh, Wild Turtle gets chunked down by Pobelter. This is going to be a fight.
The flash is up. The heal could be there. Glacial Fissure across the board. What a nice explosive cast, but everybody was actually out of position as well for the Monsoon from Lust Boy, so it does save some members on Team Solo Mid. Valiantly goes down to save the rest of the team, but that would have been a very big catch and some following turrets for CLG.
That pressure that you talked about, CLG doing a very good job of also being able to keep that up with the wards that they're trying to supplant in the jungle here. And see TSM as they try and rotate through their own jungle. We've got a double KO in the AD carries in the bottom lane there.
Yeah, well, first you don't succeed in killing Wild Turtle. Trade your life, I guess? I mean, that's still probably in benefit of TSM getting the kill on a Kog'Maw at this point, since he can get backed up by the Janna shield and CLG being ahead anyway. Anytime you're anytime you're behind in a game, trading kills is beneficial for your team.
Oh, that was a jump that put Zion Spartan well within range of Dyrus. Bit of that added damage, making sure he can get, or he has to stay out of lane, and making sure that Gnar bar goes off as well. See a replay of that 1v1 in the bot lane.
Yeah, Double Lift knows there's no summoners on Wild Turtle.
Right in the minions.
It was right in a lot of minions. So the minions aided Wild Turtle there.
Double Lift not afraid. This is how the CLG TSM rivalry is supposed to go. Nobody backs down from the 1v1.
Well, that's the kind of stuff we would see from Double Lift in scrims, right? Jumping over the wall, rocketing somebody back to make plays.
And that's that. And that's that risk-loving style that I talked about. CLG by far much more risk-loving than TSM.
Yep.
And Double Lift showing it right there.
You get those moments a lot more from it. 20 minutes now on the clock, 6-1 here. CLG is holding their lead, but TSM steadily slowing it down, actually.
Yeah, and even though CLG has made some progress on the interior turrets of TSM, they haven't cleared and they haven't actually destroyed any of them yet. And now it actually looks like TSM is trying to get some preemptive poke in before the Dragon, because if CLG can start stacking and get this Dragon immediately, we'd be talking about 5 Dragons by 33 minutes, which is very within the bounds of crushing and winning the game. So TSM wants to start stopping this Dragon snowball sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and that chunk out on Smithy, he should be able to get back, heal, and return to the Dragon area almost in time, but he will not have his ultimate, because he threw the ultimate over that red wall to try and snag Turtle, knowing that he didn't have any summoners. Now it won't be up for the immediate fight. TSM going to try and take down an outer here.
Let's see. They're trying to put their foot down. CLG will definitely answer. A lot of members making their way to this turret.
Yeah, CLG does not have good setup here. They don't have wards in the Dragon Pit, and they're late to this turret.
Zion Spartan hasn't even been delivering damage, and he takes just about his full health bar. TSM's poke comp now coming out to play.
And they're taking some of that standing gold on the map. The outer turrets were holding a lot of the gold difference between the two teams. This is why TSM have been playing this style where they're very risk averse to try and huddle behind their tier 2, wait until they can group up and place their wards to reclaim that gold.
And what a stall that actually puts on 5th Dragon. CLG obviously still going to keep going for it, but TSM definitely buy themselves some more ramp-up time to make sure that doesn't become a thing. Lustboy finishes Talisman of Ascension as well for safety, or even a little bit of distance they want to close to keep that poke on.
Yeah, some pretty big item completions as well for CLG here. They've got their Magic Resist Aura already. Smithy rushing the Aegis of the Legion. Meanwhile, the key items for all their DPS members have hit their 2 item power spikes here. So CLG very well could try and force.
Yeah, CLG doesn't want to get themselves into another situation where TSM has set up first. That's how they got themselves into trouble there. They've lost their 5-0 Dragon chance. The 5th Dragon will now be delayed to around 39 minutes, and it's not even really on their radar right now since they're just sitting at 2. It is really about trying to get picks on the TSM team in which Yasuo and the rest of the high damage dealers can follow up. In a straight-on get poked by Nidalee and Kog'Maw for too long, TSM actually has a chance despite the gold discrepancy.
Yeah, that is the key. They can only use Braum Unbreakable to block some of the poke, and then they have to go. They have to be quick with their initiation and use the Yasuo combo.
A lot of things to go wrong here, especially if Smithy ult misses as well. Bjergsen hits a nice shockwave. Like you said, Jat, we already saw what happens when TSM is there first. Pretty much can telegraph the way that CLG is coming in. CLG, however, there first. TSM has the chance to back away safely.
They get the flash out, which is actually pretty big for Lustboy. He's been using it to reposition for good monsoons on Janna. And that would be one of their main disengage when CLG do go for the Yasuo combo. So it is an important flash that they just burned there. Smithy jumping over the wall.
Really pivotal moment in the game here. This is when CLG wants to get the picks in team fights. Dyrus just ran out of Mega Gnar, so if CLG does find a fight, that's not the ult they wanted.
The Talisman of Ascension put Lustboy and Santorin just in the right spot. Now jockeying for position in lane instead of brush to lane. This fight may not happen. If it goes on like this for a little bit longer, it's just going to be wave clearing until somebody makes a mistake.
Yasuo charged.
Already down to half. Very close by that Javelin as well.
Yeah, even with the wind wall and the Braum shield, some of the spears are still flying through for Santorin. Unless they get that clean initiation, you can see the struggle with Santorin being able to sustain up any little bit of damage CLG does to TSM. So TSM holding pretty strong here, and CLG need to find that dream engage, and that definitely was not it right there.
Well, they don't want to give up their ward coverage over the Baron area either, and TSM have cornered themselves in CLG territory. Looks like they will walk out scot-free here. Little bit of harass on the exit.
And dance around them enough to take that top turret, and everything will be kind of all right from standing in the mid lane. They're buying time. They're getting gold. They're going to be getting more stats in the end. Turtle approaching the turret. Gets a nice storm shield. Looks like they will be able to drop this one after having a stalemate in the mid. TSM do make it work here without really having anything to go for it. They go for a top turret.
All right, well, they have evened up the turrets, but CLG still with a healthy lead. Dyrus in the river here comes up to dissuade CLG from their pursuit.
That's the thing, though. That healthy lead almost needs to be healthier.
It does, because they hit their item power spikes a few minutes ago.
Right.
The Aegis of the Legion and Trinity Force that Kobe touched on. The CLG really did want to fight in these last 2 minutes, and now Bjergsen, without his death cap, was able to rotate and get the turrets, but he just completed the death cap, so Orianna is coming online. Blade of the Ruined King is soon for Wild Turtle. Dyrus is even close to his Black Cleaver, which is a very critical item for Gnar, especially in the split push. The turtling has worked out very well for TSM since this early 6 kills that CLG picked up.
Yeah, speaking of Turtle, he's almost completing his Blade of the Ruined King too, so they'll probably wait a little bit longer until he can actually get his second item.
He was doing some big damage to Zion Spartan alone before they took that bottom tier turret. So Turtle definitely trying to walk up close for a few shots, may get himself into trouble here if it cannot be protected by Bjergsen and Lost Boy. A lot of things can go wrong for both teams in these fights. And right now, Chronologic Gaming seems like they're a little too worried about that with their lead. They could probably be pressuring a few more things here. Scuttle going over to Team Solo Mid. They start to control more and more of the map to make things easier for themselves. Yeah,
I'm very curious if Zion and CLG returning to a split push with him will be able to get pressure on that bottom turret. Because they did get a lot of work done on it before with double lift, and he took it to half, a good couple minutes ago. Yeah, but they haven't been able to keep up the pressure.
Even the turret in the top side, Zion Spartan had a little bit of time on that. I think that's around half health as well.
Yeah.
So it's not like CLG wasn't making progress, but that progress has definitely been halted. They're back to the 1-3-1 split push. Honestly, Team Solo Mid's initiation is pretty low as far as their ability to force fights. So the 1-3-1 in the split push is more upon CLG's style, and then they can then force collapses off of that.
They have. Question answered. Dyrus seen in the river, so Zion Spartan's going to take that turret, and CLG get their first tier 2.
Yeah, it's all about forcing the off-numbered fights, because when TSM has more people, it's actually very difficult for them to force fights on CLG. CLG has all the disengage as well with the Gragas ultimate, and they're just really going to try and out-rotate and collapse. I like that CLG is back to the turret-taking game.
Took him a bit there. I was wondering. Teleport had been up for a while, but they did not want Team Solo Mid to just rush down middle and take control of the game. Played it correctly, still in the lead. Now Dragon is also alive and going to need some ward coverage.
CLG going to keep pressure on Baron, though.
Or maybe not.
Hoping that TSM do not come in check. Hold your breath.
There's the TP. It's going to be halfway up, so he knows they need to get there in time. Talisman of Ascension. It's going to be enough to push them off. Baron about 4,000 health.
Ooh, Smithy had about 30% life as well.
Yeah, Smithy took a lot of damage on Baron. I wonder if CLG, because they're so frustrated of not finding a fight, would be willing to engage. It would have to be a great Gragas ultimate to prompt a fight here from CLG.
And it would have to been while Dyrus was exhausted. He couldn't charge up his Narbar again, but they waited out that timing. And now it's just CLG.
Going. I feel like this could still happen. Very low mana for Bjergsen. He's right now in this fight.
Too.
Zion Spartan getting hit. Laser over the wall. Chaos Storm is absolutely shredding Team Solo Mid. They took this fight with 0 mana on Bjergsen, and they're forced to run back to the base.
Pole Belter landed Chaos Storm and Death Ray on 3 people and nearly won the fight single-handedly. If any of the other initiation would have landed for CLG, that would have been a fight. But as it stands, no one on TSM is down, and CLG is still on the Baron.
Dyrus with the rest of them. No, Lustboy, Bjergsen, yeah, Wild Turtle approaches. Santorin here now. These guys are depleted in resources, but still trying their damnedest to stop this Baron. 30 minutes in, Counterlogic Gaming is thwarted once again as they try for it. Pink Ward can't clear. Too much Baron aggro. Aphromoo still checking for security purposes.
Both teams come away bloody, but still alive here. Baron actually could start taking people down if they trigger it. Couple of wards being placed back up, and who got back to heal? Zion did get back to heal. He has teleport available. They know they have teleport advantage. CLG trying to use this teleport advantage.
Yeah, Zion with home guards comes in from the flank. Oh, goodbye.
Zion!
It's so you have to think. We've been here over 30 seconds. Somebody has an idea by now, and Zion had it.
Yeah, it's all about the pressure discrepancy, and CLG is trying to drive this home, but they are really pressing their luck here. Smithy's been below half health for about a minute and a half. Baron is going down. No Kog'Maw for this fight.
This is a very dangerous steal, too.
Santorin. Yeah. He's got his eye on it.
Oh, my goodness.
Baron.
Smithy's too low to smite.
Yeah, they have
4,800 HP. Santorin's still on the other side of the wall. He wants it, but Smithy's going down before he can even smite, so you're right. They have to back off.
It's a ward.
Whew. 2 minutes now. Both teams have attempted this Baron. I think we're finally going to get to take a breather here. They back off. Going to get based. See what items we can get after this.
All right, so game 1. Pretty exciting so far, I'm willing to say.
Delivering.
Even though there's only 8 kills in the 31 minutes here, it has been very, very high pressure. Pobelter with his death cap completed now. If TSM doesn't get an Aegis or a lock at any time soon, that Chaos Storm and Death Ray, instead of taking 3 people low, is going to kill 3 people straight out.
And let's talk a little bit about Pobelter for CLG, because all split long. Every time he gets an interview, he wants to talk about how he's going to prove himself as a top North American mid laner. During the regular season, he was not able to best Bjergsen. This is his chance to make his case.
Absolutely.
At Madison Square Garden, in the finals, take down Bjergsen.
In a year
and
where,
he's beating him right now.
In a year where he's also had a decent team as well to go along with the entire season this time, right?
Yeah. This is his first split in the playoffs.
Yep.
And he's 3-0 here in his first game.
Yeah, it's so fitting that he's now finally on CLG because people have been talking about Pobelter's potential for years. He started playing at such a young age, he wasn't even available to join.
The epitome of potential.
Yeah.
It's everything. We'll see what he does with that 3-0 potential in this game. Those City Boots keep him spamming out that DPS. See Dirish finishing up the Black Cleaver as well. Going to get a little bit of damage out of him now. See if he can help the team.
That's a big
Winter's Bite onto Bjergsen. 3-man Shockwave. Where's the answer? TSM is not in the right position to get the attacks on the priority targets. It's CLG that's able now to push them right over in their own command Shockwave engage. Zion Spartan and Double Lift cleaning up the crew. The janitorial duty onto Dyrus. That's going to go over to Pobelter. No, it's a triple kill for Double Lift.
CLG completely cleans house, and it all started with the Braum Q onto Bjergsen. When that happened, the rest of CLG piled on.
The Afro Boot initiation is so important for these guys, and CLG actually had the follow-up this time. They got it, and they're going to get the Baron after the ace.
Yeah, this is the turning point CLG has been playing around Baron for the last 8 minutes for. Finally, when TSM is just meandering in the mid lane, CLG was able to punish with a really crisp team fight. Good target focus and great follow-up.
Yeah, they don't have to overextend for these turrets either. Those turrets will fall very quickly to CLG once they return.
Yeah, well, basically they lock onto Bjergsen. As soon as they land the slow, everyone goes on to him.
Move.
Like, he knows with the slow he can line up the ultimate, and Bjergsen's flash is down from the previous fight. So it was curtains. As soon as he landed that first spell, everyone on CLG knew to pile on.
They were all on the same page there. Zion immediately follows up. Pobelter flashes in for the extra damage to secure the kill within the knock-up duration, and there's no response possible from TSM. They have to scatter.
Not very often you find TSM this late in the game not ready to even participate in a fight. They were all in scatter mode. Definitely something that they need to repair coming into the last moments of this game, because CLG may be able to bring it inside the base very soon.
And a Baron buff team with Tristana now against a team that can't wave clear these minions super quickly. These could very well be inhibitors going down, especially if they get some split pushing and a fight, maybe even the game. The ultimates are all close to being back up for CLG, and when they are, they could very well go for a dive and a game-winning play.
We heard Bjergsen at the beginning of this game. CLG and the games have been very close that they've been playing recently. You cannot put anything past Pobelter in the mid lane or the rest of the members of Counterlogic Gaming. Definitely showing up here in Game 1 of the NALCS Summer Finals. This turret may fall the minion wave a little too far behind, with this being a Baroned up siege minion.
Next wave. If CLG really wants it, they can push in with the next wave.
Deny resources and walk it back in. It looks like they will.
Now the question will be whether or not TSM decides to initiate on this. Basically, Bjergsen would have to leave the Orianna ball out and try and land a sitting shockwave.
That's right there.
The ability to manipulate is really hard.
They're going all in on this turret. They use the Solari active there and take it down.
Nice push by CLG.
CLG now opening up the base. Been able to snowball Baron an early game by Xmithy, as well as Zion Spartan in the top lane, paying off well.
Yeah, very important poke landing from Pobelter as well with the early Luden's Echo there, chunking out the front line. Dyrus is the main initiation. It's all about a big play from him for TSM. If Pobelter chunks him low enough before the fights, they can't go in. Xmithy, though, he's the one getting taken out, and CLG are the one with the low front line.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's getting a little dicey. CLG already got the one inhibitor down, so they'd be a little greedy to stay longer. They know they have such a big advantage right now. It also doesn't appear like anyone on TSM is going to build Aegis at this point. This doesn't fit on Santorin unless Boy's going for a Zeke's Harbinger as well. So unless Gnar builds it, Pobelter is going to continue to destroy them.
Victor pick as well. Did not come up till the end of the season. We saw the Victor pick in the Liquid tiebreaker and then in a game against Impulse. This was a regular season for Pobelter, so to bring this out now might be throwing TSM for a loop as well.
Zion going to look for a play when the minions get here and he can dash to them.
Yeah, there's the stun out.
Narbar as well, half going down. Pole Belter already on the roam up. Should be able to make it with all the crowd control coming through.
Good night.
And Pole Belter rains on Dyrus's parade once more in the top lane. 30 seconds on what could be Dragon number 4 for CLG.
CLG so close to beating TSM for the first time since week 2 of the 2014 summer split. It has been over a year since CLG has been able to take a competitive game off of TSM.
Yeah.
13 kills to 2, 11,000 gold, 3 Dragons to 1. They look in position to do so right now.
Look back to those days when it was the rivalry. If we can still get it again, it's going to be within these games.
Doublelift's not even there. That's 4 members of CLG
Turtle.
making a dive.
Doublelift is waddling his way over right now, and TSM really not engaging. They're just trying to stay safe. Dyrus, 4 seconds, should be up to help stop this turret, but I don't think they're going to leave. There's minions on the Nexus turret.
No Baron buff, but at the same time, Bjergsen has to respect the initiation so heavily that he can't necessarily clear the wave. So nice turret take by CLG.
Dyrus, be careful of how confident he's feeling right now. He runs in, already half HP, does have the home guards on, so he can be right back in the battle once he makes the fountain. And it looks like this inhibitor is going down, though. CLG is able to continue pushing back Team Solo Mid, not allowing any of that offense to come through from them. And they're going to get this inhibitor.
2 inhibitors down.
What a solid game for Logic Gaming.
They have been playing very clean. There was one minor misstep when they had a lead and gave up a dragon. But aside from that, CLG has just been doing everything they can to destroy TSM here. The last 2 picks, Yasuo and Victor, getting kind of the element of surprise on the blue side of champion select is also really valuable, plus the play. Also, Doublelift buffers his rocket jump to get out of the shockwave and not die. Dyrus is dead again.
Dyrus getting soloed out in that top lane so quick. Just like the wind, Zion Spartan takes him down fast, 14-2. Coming up onto 40 minutes, CLG looking to put a few final touches on this game. They may be spreading themselves a bit too thin with the HP bars, but they pull it back, and they start to play it consistent, and they may have the Nexus.
There's no shockwave up. There's no real way for TSM to initiate, but Bjergsen
Turtle with the shot. That's one for him. He's already got a Nexus turret as well. Or Doublelift, I should say. Turtle now running for the fountain. Turtle goes down, Doublelift with another one. Game 1 coming up 39 minutes in. Very convincing from Logic Gaming as they take out Team Solo Mid in the finals. We got more games.
Huge first win for CLG right here. They are the higher seed coming into this. They had the first round bye in the playoffs and now moved to actually 4-0 in the playoffs. So they have been on a hot streak for quite some time. But as we know, TSM often drops the first games in a best-of-5 series, so this one is far from over.
This is TSM as well. We're seeing Bjergsen play a lot more of this utility lately and then sometimes switch back to some offense. Maybe this was the utility for them. They still have some ideas up their sleeve because, honestly, the Yasuo pick, the Victor pick, we definitely saw CLG had something up their sleeve there.
Yeah, it was a great draft phase there from CLG. They were able to get the surprise factor against TSM with their top lane counter pick, and in the end it did work out for them. But there were other problems. Doublelift was able to rotate very quickly with his Tristana, which CLG have used over and over and over to get the early lead with the turrets that they used to keep up that pressure. All that mid-game pressure that we saw was sort of a domino effect.
It was such a crazy game. I can't wait for the next ones to come up. Final word.
I mean, we've talked about it a bit before, but TSM has had troubles in the past adapting to a pick that they were not expecting. So the Yasuo top here from Zion Spartan, even though he practiced it a bunch, was a surprise to most when he picked it out here in the first game. And he had a great game, 4-0-6. Everything in the team composition was leading up to being a setup for Yasuo, and CLG executed it just right.
Well, we're going to get a deep dive on this game by throwing it over to the Anna's Lounge.